Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am Sandsox and today we're bringing you another Throwback Thursday video. This time we're talking about Blood Omen Legacy of Kain.
There is a magical operation of maximum importance. The initiation of a new aeon. When it becomes necessary to utter a word, the whole planet must be bathed in blood.
Introduction. Looking back during the lifespan of the original PlayStation, RPGs became fan favorites for the console after the release of Final Fantasy VII. However, before Final Fantasy VII, a couple titles were released that really earned their own right to be discussed and praised. Blood Omen Legacy of Kain is one of those titles. Released in 1996, Blood Omen Legacy of Kain is an action-adventure game developed by Silicon Knights and published by Crystal Dynamics. The game was also ported to Microsoft Windows in 1997, but for the purposes of this video we'll be discussing it in terms of the Sony PlayStation version. The game was developed with the idea of being a game that adults would want to play, and Crystal Dynamic producer Lyle Hall remarked, "It was obvious this game deserved a Legend of Zelda style take on a vampire action RPG." The story. You are Kain, a lowly noble who is turned away at the local tavern as the bartender tells you he stays open for no man in these dark times. As you head outside, you encounter a band of brigandmen who seem to want nothing more than to spill your blood. Fighting them proves to be futile as they are there to kill you and nothing will stop them. You awaken to find yourself in hell with a sword impaled right through the middle of your chest. A powerful sorcerer by the name of Mortanius offers you the gift of eternal life so that you can go forth and seek your revenge against the men who slaughtered you. Not realizing that your new gift comes with the curse of spending eternity as a vampire who is forced to prey on humanity, you foolishly accept Mortanius' offer. Your world is the land of Nosgoth, a highly detailed world rich with different regions, terrains, and its own mythology. Nosgoth is held in balance by the 9 pillars of aspects, each having its own human guardian. These guardians comprise the order known as the Circle of Nine. It's a relatively peaceful time, but centuries ago, a major war took place. A Seraphim knight named Malik was commissioned by the Circle of Nine to launch a vampire holocaust in which Nosferatu were slaughtered by the thousands. The vampires were hunted, impaled on stakes, and left to suffer and die in the light of the sun as shown during the opening cinematic. While Malik slaughtered these vampires, Vorador, the most powerful of the vampire lords, fought back by killing 3 of the 9 guardians and upsetting the balance of the circle. Malik was then punished for failing the Circle of Nine by having his soul ripped from his body and being entrapped within his suit of armor. Things grew worse, and the Circle of Nine soon dispersed entirely and Nosgoth teetered on the brink of chaos. As Kain, you must find the members of the Circle and either bring them back together to restore balance, or destroy them once and for all, creating a new world bathed in blood and darkness. Gameplay. Complementing the fantastic story of the game is the gameplay itself. Blood Omen is a cross between an adventure game and an action RPG. As mentioned during the introduction, it takes on the feel of a Legend of Zelda top-down view type of action RPG. Throughout your journey, you control Kain across the countryside of Nosgoth and through its many dungeons in search of more powerful weapons, armor, and spells. The combat system is familiar to similar games in which action takes place real time. You swing your weapon at your enemy in effort to hack and slash them to death. Getting your foe in a state of low health makes them swoon, at which point you can perform a blood suck ability that will help regenerate your own health. Being a vampire is not a license to live on any and all blood, however. While human red blood regenerates your health, the green blood of monsters will decrease your health. Outside of physical combat, Kain also has the ability to use magic, which you will earn a slew of awesome spells throughout your adventure. Since Kain is a vampire, he's endowed with many of the traditional vampiric powers. These range from the ability to turn to mist, because vampires can't cross water, a bat to better navigate the large countryside, a wolf for making jumps to high up areas, and a human so he can navigate towns without being attacked. You'll need to acquire and use these powers as you progress. Unlike many RPGs, Blood Omen doesn't have much going on in regards to numerical stats. There's no experience or levels to gain by defeating your enemies. Again, like Zelda, your total health can be increased by finding items throughout your journey. However, unlike Zelda, there is no currency or shops. There are spirit forges in which you can purchase upgrades with the only currency you could expect a vampire to need: blood. The one knock the game consistently receives is on the loading times. Being an early PlayStation game, you can imagine how slow that may be, especially by 2019 standards. However, when I first played this game around 1998, those loading times never seemed to really bother me much, so I personally don't ding it much on the gameplay score. Graphics. One of the most important things to keep in mind when reviewing a game in a series like this is to make sure you grade it accordingly with the time of its release. The other areas of these reviews, such as the story, gameplay, and music, all have a higher chance of aging better than what graphics do. The graphics of Blood Omen are pretty decent for a game released in 1996. There's nothing to rave about here, but there's nothing disappointing. Just a solid set of graphics that allow the story and gameplay to deliver the wow factors of the game. The 2D graphical engine and sprite-based characters provide enough for the eye to make the game pleasantly playable. While nothing compared to 2019 graphics, the full motion videos of Blood Omen are actually quite good, and better than what I had expected when I bought the game. Sure, it's a little bit blocky and the lip sync isn't perfect, but the full motion videos really help drive the excellent story, and there's a whopping 25 minutes of video to get you through the adventure. One positive note on the videos is the excellent camera work at play during the cutscenes. Sound and music. During my Throwback Thursday number 4 on Sketchin', I mentioned that it was not likely you'll see me often cover a game that doesn't have fantastic music, at least in my opinion. Blood Omen kind of flirts with that statement a little bit, since there isn't a ton of music in the game in the first place. The music of Blood Omen is more of an ambiance than a musical score, but I feel like that actually plays to the game's strength more so than to its detriment. The dark overtones and ambience coupled with the sound effects really help drive home that gothic anti-hero feel. While the music and sound effects seem to pair perfect while playing the game, they aren't something I'll pop in my headphones and listen to while doing some research or coding. That's okay though, I'd rather a game focus on making its music assist the story and gameplay more so than overpowering it. Of special note is the voice acting in this game. It is far superior than most games of its time and leaves memorable quotes years after playing. Kain's voice acting is especially well done and narrates the story in a manner that captures the dark gothic theme this game set out to capture.
They victors, suffering to the conquered. Ironic that now I was the one suffering. Not anything as pedestrian as physical pain, rather the cruel jab of impotent anger. The hunger for revenge. I didn't care if I was in heaven or hell. All I wanted was to kill my assassins.
Personal experience. I bought this game sometime around 1998 after I bought my first PlayStation. I didn't hear about it or know anything about the game. I simply had some extra cash and was at the local store browsing games in the locked cabinet. Since the game was a couple years old at the time, it was one that I could afford, and the cover of the jewel case drew my attention. I purchased the game and took it home, popped the disc in, and was almost shocked at the opening cutscene as I watched vampires being impaled on spikes. It was a level of violence not custom in games during that time, and my grandmother took note of that herself. I was nearly forced to return the game. I didn't get far into the game before taking it to show a couple of my friends, and again that opening cutscene didn't seem to draw the attention as much as I had hoped, at least at first. After giving the game a fair chance, the story and gameplay were allowed to really shine through. This allowed us to appreciate what is truly a great game, and the first in the Legacy of Kain series that would see critically acclaimed sequels throughout the PS1 and PS2 lifespans. Alright guys, that does wrap it up for this video. As always, if you did enjoy the content, please consider giving the video a like. If you missed our previous episode, you can check it out in the top right hand corner of your screen right now. Below that is another awesome video from our channel I think you should check out. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to subscribe and turn on alert notifications so you know whenever we go live or upload new content. We'll see you next time.